Hi everyone, we're here today to tell you a little bit about the history of Simmons College. We figured, what better way to build Simmons pride than to tell you about the founding of our school, some of our favorite traditions, and what sets Simmons apart from the rest. We hope you enjoy!
Our founder, John Simmons, was a wealthy tailor living in the 19th century. He is known for inventing the ready-to-wear suit. Can you imagine living in an era when you had to be measured and fitted for every piece of clothing you owned? Sometime between 1830 and 1835, Simmons realized that most men could not afford to come to his shop for repeated fittings, so he revolutionized the clothing industry with a major innovation. He began making ready-made suits in standard sizes that could be sold anywhere. His suits were cut by men who worked in his factory in Faneuil Hall, and then the pieces were sent out to be stitched by women working in their homes. Until the invention of the sewing machine in 1845, all the stitching was done by hand. Simmons soon made a fortune, moving his suits to buyers in stores around the country with the use of the rapidly growing railroad network. He began buying land in downtown Boston and moved the factory to a group of buildings known as the Simmons Block in 1850. During the next few years, he continued buying land as the downtown commercial district expanded into formerly residential areas. While his business interests continued to expand, Simmons experienced several unfortunate deaths in his family. All the male heirs to his fortune, 3 sons and a grandson, died at young ages. So when Simmons passed away in 1870, he was able to leave his 2 married daughters with comfortable incomes. But his will revealed a plan for a more permanent legacy. The bulk of his estate was left to, quote, found and endow an institution called Simmons Female College for the purpose of teaching medicine, music, drawing, designing, telegraphy, and other branches of art, science, and industry best calculated to enable the scholars to acquire an independent livelihood.
Unfortunately, the Great Boston Fire of 1872 destroyed much of downtown before Simmons' estate could be sold, including his buildings. Not until 1899 were the trustees able to rebuild the buildings, pay off the mortgages, and sell them to establish the college. It is rumored that if the fire had not burned the majority of Boston, Simmons College would have one of the largest private endowments in the country, second only to Harvard. On May 24, 1899, the Boston legislature granted a charter to incorporate Simmons Female College. On December 6, 1901, a corporation made up of estate executors and women leaders of Boston approved Dr. Henry Lefever's program of organization for the college. In it, Lefever, as in Lefever Hall, described a rigorous liberal arts education, followed by professional preparation that would prepare graduates for a variety of careers.
Later, Sarah Louise Arnold, supervisor of schools in Boston, was chosen to be the first dean. Arnold Hall is named for her. Together, Lefever and Arnold would implement Simmons' vision of professional education for women.
The initial curriculum offers students Bachelor of Science degrees in household economics, library studies, secretarial studies, and general science. Tuition was $100 a year, and room and board ranged from $250 to $300 a year. At the time, most students were commuters.
In the following decades, Simmons College expanded to include new programs and more students, establishing a reputation for preparing women for professional careers. As the trustees, president, and faculty kept a sharp eye on expanding opportunities for women, more programs were added, including nursing, retailing, social work, education, publication, and physical therapy. The post-World War II era brought changes to education and opportunities to women. This was reflected in the college's decision in 1964 to adopt an undergraduate liberal arts program with emphasis on professional preparation. The college also built upon traditional strengths in the growing graduate programs. Library science and social work both became master's programs. Nursing became a bachelor's program. Secretarial studies and retailing eventually grew into the Graduate School of Management. Home economics became focused on nutrition, which later joined nursing and physical therapy to form the School of Health Science, while publication became the Master's in Communication Management.
In May of 1904, the Board of Trustees voted to buy land that had become available on Brookline Avenue, where 3 small frame houses on the site became residence halls. South Hall opened in 1905,
joined by the dining hall and colonnade. By the late 1940s, for the first time, the majority of students became residential. Larger residence halls were built on the Brookline Avenue site, replacing the small houses. Student life was focused at the college, as was made clear by the handbook rules, which firmly kept students on the campus and home early. Aren't you glad you go to Simmons now, rather than at a time when gentlemen callers weren't allowed to go past the lobby of your hall, and you had to be home before dark? Simmons students have always understood the importance of becoming involved on campus, and that clubs and traditions create a supportive community. Musical groups, dramatic clubs, sports teams, professional interest associations, religious and literary clubs, student government, and yearbook activities kept students engaged in the world around them, as well as on the campus they shared. Students also eagerly embraced annual traditions. There was the freshman-junior wedding, in which two classes were married to each other for mutual support and mentoring. The Old English dinner, celebrated in late fall in high medieval style to bring in the winter. And the daisy chain, made and held by juniors to mark the path trod by the graduating class. Although some of these traditions are long gone, a number survive. Track and field day and the faculty-student baseball game are now celebrated as RHA's Simmons Cup. Simmons students still join in step singing, and May Day is still observed every year with a strawberry breakfast. The proper teas of years ago are still held, perhaps a little less formally and not as often, but with no less enjoyment. During your time here at Simmons, you will definitely come to love our old traditions, and hopefully start some new ones of your own.
Most unchanged is the spirit of students who come to Simmons in order to fulfill Mr. Simmons' hopes that we would endeavor to, quote, acquire an independent livelihood. Through this challenging education in a community that reflects intellectual curiosity and diversity, we do, and you are now a part of this community. As our international student body grew, Simmons celebrated the many different races, religions, cultures, and customs of its students. Diversity continues to be an important part of Simmons students today. Simmons has emerged into the 21st century as a college where academic and real-world experience prepares undergraduate women and graduate students for rewarding lives and career success, as stated in our current mission statement.
And to think, all this started from a few lines in John Simmons' will. Simmons was born on October 30th, 1796, and we honor his birthday each year with a celebration called Founders Day. It is uncertain why John Simmons decided to leave his fortune to endow Women's College, which has now grown into the College of Arts and Sciences, the School of Nursing and Health Sciences, the School of Social Work, the Graduate School of Library and Information Science, and the School of Management. Was it the young women who sewed those early suits, or his two daughters, who outlived his sons? No one knows, but generations of women and men are grateful to him, and we welcome you as you become a member of this phenomenal community.